Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to our second special at GITEX here with TONOMUS. Neom, I have Miss Beverly Ryder. She is the Chief Commercial Officer and Chief Marketing Officer at TONOMUS. Neom, thank you so much for joining me,
Oh,
Beverly.
thanks, Mo. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you taking the time. I know your schedule is busy. We'll try to be brief and get as much as we can out of you.
Okay.
Beverly, you've been at Neom in general for about what my research told me about a year and a half so
That's
far.
correct. Yes.
How would you summarize the last year and a half in totality, would you say?
Wow, it's a roller coaster. I would tell you that we're moving so quickly that sometimes you forget how far you've come. And, being part of Neom, it's such a world-changing, life-altering experience. For me, it's my last job I'm going to have. And so I was super excited to come and be part of something that could change the world. And I'm watching it happen in front of my eyes.
Where in the U.S. is home?
Well, that's an interesting question. Born in Pennsylvania on the East Coast, grew up in Seattle, and now live in Florida. So I've seen it all.
God, with you saying Florida, I just worry that you really are planning for retirement.
Yeah, I really am.
So the Neom camp reached out to you and said, we have this project for you all the way in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so what happened is they saw me on the internet. I was doing a bunch of public speaking at the time at major conferences around the world, talking about innovation and technology. And they saw me and they reached out. And then after a year of coaxing me from Hitachi, I came over.
Well, that's exactly where I wanted to start. You served at the top level at companies like Hitachi, like GE, like Ericsson. Can you give us a bit of insight on what kind of professional experience you've experienced in your 2 decades serving in those companies?
Oh, wow. Well, you were just nice and just lowered my age, so I appreciate that. It's actually more like 3 decades now. I've just been really lucky. I started out as a business, marketing, and finance major. I then got to work for one of the largest companies in the world, Procter & Gamble. And I loved it so much, but the part I loved about it was the legalities of the sale. And so I went to law school, I got my legal degree, went into telecommunications law, and within, a couple weeks, I was back out with the salespeople. And so I was out there doing sales and doing commercials and really understanding what the customer liked. And I liked the customer so much that they gave me a sales team, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow, that's amazing. From my experience with some of my lawyer friends, I remember back in school, university, they used to study the most. I didn't have any friends studying medicine, but the lawyers, they would just read nonstop. Did you feel that benefited you going into sales?
Yeah, you know what it did is, so I don't know what the law is like studying it somewhere else other than the United States. But in the United States, it's about breaking down the individual to think differently and then to start over in their thought processes. So what it did is it made me not intimidated by any audience. I've met with presidents and kings and prime ministers now with the tops of every company almost in the world. And what it allowed me to do was feel that I could talk to them and that they were real people. And I think when you start with the human element and then you move into the business, it really makes it more authentic because you can hear me talking from my heart. And I just think that no matter where you are, that's something we all have in common. And so it taught me that. So I like that part. But the other thing it taught me was to always say yes. So if you give me a challenge, I like to say yes, not no. And sometimes I find that especially women, if they have one of the criteria that they don't meet, they'll say no. Where a man, if he has one criteria, he'll say, yeah, let's do it. Exactly, right? And so I just decided when I was really young that I was going to start saying yes and I would figure it out. And so hopefully I'm teaching my daughters and then all the people that I mentor that as well.
And I see it worked for you.
I've been very lucky. I would say that, you don't get where I'm at without 2 things. One of them, luck. And the other one is a great team, right? So I'm a result of all the people that have ever worked with me and for me or on my behalf.
2 positions, and quite big positions, where you are at today, which is, as we said in the beginning, Chief Commercial Officer and Chief Marketing Officer. Can you shed a little bit of light on the responsibilities that come with such positions?
Of course. So first of all, remember when I told you I say yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so Chief Commercial Officer is what I came to do originally. And that meant building businesses, being able to figure out how to take products to market. It comes with a little bit of marketing, but more the product marketing and the events part of it. Well, when our chief marketing officer left, there was nobody that had any marketing experience except for me. And so that's how I became the acting CMO. And that's been like, I don't know, 14 or 15 months ago. So I also, in the meantime, have taken over a CEO role of the TONOMUS Venture Studios. So I have 3, but I'm looking to shed some.
Days are full. I mean, you're in the office 15, 16 hours.
That's true.
Is
Maybe
that about-
more. Yeah.
How do you switch off? How do you de-stress when you get back home?
Wow. So I'm not good at this. Everybody needs to know their strengths and weaknesses. So I will tell you that for years, I wanted to be what I hear in the news and what I see on TV, the woman that could do it all. You could do it all, you could have it all, you could be it all. And one of the things I've learned with age is you actually can't be it all and do it all and have it all at the same time, right? So sometimes you're a great mom and sometimes you're a great spouse and sometimes you're a really good worker, but it's hard to do all in the same day. So for me, I can't turn it off. I can't turn off any of those pieces of me. So I give 100% of what I am in that moment. And then when I get to my next moment, I try to give 100% there. And sometimes that means there's not enough left for yourself. And I wish I had that. Like I wish if I could teach, and my people will tell you, I preach to them. Like I tell them, do not follow my example. I actually don't believe I'm a good example in this. I think that you should have balance. You should know how to shut it off. You should have other outlets. You should take your vacation, which I never do. I mean, you should really take the time to take care of yourself so that you can be good for others. So I'm learning, but I'm still learning.
Is this something that was part of your DNA even back in college?
I think my mom said it started when I was about 3. So I had a lemonade stand and I had to bake cookies and cake because lemonade wasn't enough to sell. And I think it started then and it just never stopped.
Wow, Beverly, that's
I know. And my first full-time
Fascinating.
job when I was 13. Like I just went and found a job because I wanted to work.
Yeah.
And I've been like that. I don't know where it came from.
a real go-getter.
Well, maybe it came from my mom.
Mashallah, as we say.
Right?
How are you going about sourcing the tech savvy, not just within Saudi's borders, but also, regionally? What kind of training and development programs would you say are available for TONOMUS, for those tech savvy people in the region who want to get involved?
Well, so I would say, first of all, you don't have to be tech savvy. There's jobs for everybody. We have positions in every category and every sector inside of a company. But for those that want technology, we're looking for all the people from the college graduates or the college interns all the way through people like me that are on their last job. So it's really about creating an ecosystem and having people not feel that they have to leave in order to find technology jobs or find jobs inside of technology companies. And one of the things we're doing in order to encourage that is to create an ecosystem throughout the world with multiple offices and being able to have people rotate throughout those offices so that you can share knowledge, you can share ideas. There's really inclusion of thought, which is something you can't have if everybody stays in one region or is from one region.
Yeah, I on purposely asked this question to you as well because I asked Joseph Bradley that earlier when I spoke to him, and he said, we're not just about tech.
That's right.
We're not just a end all be all tech. We aspire to attract way more than the people who are just into tech, and that's something that I would like the Saudi and the region populace to know, that NEOM is just not for the tech centric future employees. Which
No,
is
absolutely. I'm so glad that we were consistent.
Yeah, no,
That's good.
It's testing you. No, I'm kidding. We live in a world where equality, diversity, inclusion, all these words are kind of high up on the priorities of corporations, and I'm sure no different at NEOM.
Yeah.
How would you say that you incorporate it within your workforce?
Yeah. So, well, people will tell you I might have too much inclusion on my team. I have personally 26 nationalities, a multitude of ethnicities, and a lot of women on my team. It's actually coincidental though, because I would also tell you that I look for the very best person for each job. And while I'm super specific on the top of the funnel to make sure that we have an inclusive an inclusive cast of characters that we're looking at, I always take that, and as I funnel down, it's about who was the best person in that interview, who was the best person in that test. When we do our group scenarios, who did the best, right? And so I'm really looking for the best person, and I think that can be anybody. So I've been super fortunate to have a really inclusive team, but I think it's more because of how we do the funnel at the top. And so we have an even slate of candidates.
Can you single out a mentor of yours? Who taught you
Wow.
all of this? Where'd you get it from?
Wow. I've had so many mentors. No, I can't give you one because I've been fortunate in my life. Like I said, I don't know, I feel like I've been so lucky in my life. I started in a, probably not the way everybody would think was ideal, but that taught me was integrity and work ethic. And then I moved into corporations where there weren't a lot of women and where there was a lot of bias. And I just never considered it applied to me.
Wow.
And therefore it didn't. So I feel like I was lucky, and I have had both men and women that have mentored me over the years, but I always have a mentor. And if my mentor, for some reasons, like I've had mentors pass away, I immediately go and, I mourn, but at the same time, I go and I find somebody else because I think we should always be learning. Like right now, one of my kids is mentoring me a ton because she's teaching me patience. She's teaching me, how to look at life a little bit differently than I originally thought. And she's questioning the principles that I normally govern my life with. And so, to me, even that's a learning and a mentorship.
Yeah. It actually, it sheds light on a saying that I came across before I had my 5-year-old, which is your kids might teach you maybe even a little bit more than you teach them about yourself.
Yes, for sure.
I don't think I had patience before I had my 5-year-old today.
Right.
And here I am. I think a lot more patient at the age of 39 than I was at 34 when I had him. He taught me how to be patient.
Yeah.
Just when you thought it's one-way communication, no, it's two-way. They'll teach you a little something about yourself.
Well, no, and you think so I talk about this a little bit because it's a new phenomena, the metaverse. And one of the things is when my son, like 10 years ago, was playing video games all the time, I just thought that was the worst thing ever. And he was developing these relationships online, and that scared me. But now he has lifelong friendships he's created with real people, and they talk every day, where I talk to my friends maybe once a month, and they're talking every day. And so where I thought before that separated you from reality and relationships and being able to deal with others, it actually has turned out his metaverse experience has brought him closer in a larger community than I would have in a worldwide one. So his worldview is wider than mine.
Relationships that he's made online?
Online. He's had them for over 10 years.
That changes everything with
right?
the way you are able to make relationships.
Yes.
With the way we grew up, you're friends with the people that live in your town or your city.
Exactly.
And now you can be friends with someone who's in Saudi Arabia and the other person on the other side from Pennsylvania.
And it shares, so the inclusive ideas of like how you live your life, that's shared on a day-to-day basis. So his idea of what the world looks like is completely different than mine because he's more accepting because he's had more experience with others.
That's extraordinary.
Right? Yeah. It's really changed my vantage point.
Truly. See, our kids teach us a lot.
Exactly.
How's the use of advanced tech-based programs and modern approaches to training implemented in TONOMUS? I mean, can you give examples on the different approaches that are used to how training is tackled today?
Yeah, well, the most important one is that we have remote groups. So we were just talking about how you can be anywhere in the world. Well, to have high effective teams that are located in multiple locations or even working remotely, like during COVID, that has been, for me, the most important use of technology because you have to be highly effective. You can actually be in multiple geographies and multiple time zones. So you can create a 24-hour workday, even though people are only working one shift. And so that allows your not just your programming, but really your idea of product production and product development to triple or I should say, decrease by a third, right? So what would normally take a day now takes a third of a day. And so if you can do in 8 hours, imagine over the course of years, how that allows you to develop and to expand. And then also I would say from a teaming perspective, even though people are alone, they're able to share and to function as if they're together. And I think for me, technology's allowed us to have this diverse work group that's really effective together.
I think one thing that COVID has taught companies, or at least the smart ones, is that not everyone needs to report to the office. You can actually save a little bit on your overhead by having people work from home.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, when I was at Hitachi, we were closing down offices because we had so many people work from home. We had 360,000 people that reported up to us. And if you imagine that number of people, and then everybody stayed home for 2 years. So we had however many buildings that took around the world, 1,000 buildings that we had. And so you didn't need all that real estate anymore. And it was really how to redeploy those assets in new and different ways.
Yeah. World's changed.
It has.
In many ways.
Very quickly.
What have you learned, going on the personal side now?
Yeah.
What have you learned throughout your career that you can pass on as advice to people who are on the cusp of entering the workforce?
Yeah, so I suppose first speak just as a woman in business. I tend to avoid that topic, but there's something I've been thinking a lot about lately, which is that you don't have to lose your femininity in order to be in the workforce. You don't have to, like, the qualities that we have as a woman or as a man are individual to us, and they should be celebrated. They don't have to be normalized so that we're all the same. I think that the fact that women tend to be very nurturing, it's a beautiful thing about them. You know, I tend to wear dresses. And so, you know, I haven't started wearing suits every day just because I'm now a higher person up in a company, right? So I think that really embracing who you are and your individuality and not conforming is a really good thing. That would be my number one thing that I've been thinking about. And the other thing is to never let your natural curiosity get deflated, right? So always, if you're an internal entrepreneur, you can do that inside a company. If you believe in a certain process and you want to push that process, you need to present it to everybody, right? So don't let yourself get stuck in a rut. Keep believing in yourself and continuing to push your ideas forward, because that's really how you'll be successful.
Totally. There's a famous Jim Carrey saying, your need to fit in will make you invisible to the world. If you have an idea, just to double down on what you just said, show the world you're crazy, if you will,
exactly.
Paint your picture.
Well, I just think it's so important. I think we're trying to, I believe that social media has really created this need in the world to not be yourself and to be something that the public expects you to be instead of who you really are.
So true.
And I really think we have to go back to being who we are and accepting who we are and celebrating who we are. And not trying to all be the same.
Absolutely. And I'll take it a step further to not try to be someone else, because that person's taken.
Exactly. Yes. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. A typical day for you. I wanted to start with this question, but I was told to close with it. A typical day for you up in Neom.
Okay. In Neom specifically?
How about you tackle it the way you want? What does a typical day for Beverly Ryder look like?
Okay, so I wake up somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m. It depends where I'm at in the world. So if I'm in the United States, I wake up at 11 p.m. so that I can start the day at midnight, because that's 7 a.m. Saudi time and 8 a.m. Dubai time. And so I start early, and then I work for like the next 12 hours and get on calls and have meetings and all of that so that I can be real time with my employees. And then I also have this company in California that I run. And so then I do the afternoon shift there. And then I make dinner and spend dinner with my family and do homework with my kids and fill out college applications and take a nap and start over again. So that's my weekdays. And then my weekends are about rejuvenation.
Beverly, I'm sweating just hearing that you have to start your day at 11 p.m. You're probably in bed by noon.
That's when I'm in the United States. And so that's when I'm in the United States. And then when I'm in Saudi, I wake up between 2 and 3. So I get to sleep extra. And then I get up, I get through all my emails. I go in and talk to everybody in the office because I want everybody to know I'm there. I go meet with all of my colleagues and the different pieces of NEOM, the BUs as well as the sectors. And then I come back at the end of the day and do more phone calls and finish up with my emails and go eat in the mess hall. And if I'm lucky, I'll get to work out.
And no vacations.
Well, I try to vacation. And I'm getting better at it. My staff would tell you I'm really trying to take vacations. I really am. I'm working harder and harder at it.
It's important. You know, in a world where everyone tries to stay away from the office more and more vacations, here you are doing the opposite. You're one of a kind.
I figure I'm going to be on a full-time vacation once I retire.
How about that?
Right?
Florida.
So, exactly. Or wherever I go.
Yes, totally. I like to close with this question. I did not present this to Joseph Bradley. I wish I did. A billboard anywhere in the world with any message. Is there how would you put together a billboard to portray a message to the world from Beverly Ryder?
Oh. Well, mine would say yes. But if I was really branding myself and rather than just giving my motto, I probably would say kindness.
Kindness.
I think that we have too little kindness now.
Beautiful. Yeah. Everyone's all about me, me, me. Just not to counter what you said, but
Yeah.
I listened to some of these gurus, and the common message from them, funnily enough, is watch your life improve the more you say no.
Yeah.
And I believed that for a while. But now with you saying say yes and then figure it out on the fly.
Oh, but they mean it differently than I do. So I agree with them. So it's saying know when to say no so you have more time to say yes. It doesn't really mean say no in general. It means say no to the things that you shouldn't be saying yes to.
Got it.
So you can really focus on your yeses.
Kind of like you only have X amount of yeses to give.
Exactly.
So choose them wisely.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I think they mean.
It's a big takeaway from this talk, by the way.
Okay. Well, that's what I took it to mean, that because I like to say yes.
Makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because when you said it earlier, I was like, but I was told that watch your life improve the more you say no. But no, you just don't say yes to everything. Be very, very selective and forensic with the yeses that you do give.
Exactly. Yes. And I think it's no different than email. If you get 1,000 emails and you only have time to do 200, you pick the 200 that apply the most to what you're responsible for, and you send the other 800 to other people.
Yeah.
Or you hope to
delegate.
Right. And so I think you have to look at your yeses in that same way, right? What gives you the most reach? What can make the most impact from whatever yes you want to say?
Yeah. Makes sense. Totally. Thank you for those words of wisdom.
Well, you're welcome.
Honestly. And thank you for what you do for us.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I love the part that you play in Neon, which is my favorite project in my country.
Oh, yay.
And thank you for your contribution. And when you do retire, hopefully it's not anytime soon, but when you do, well deserved. And I hope you have a lovely one. And thanks for sparing time for me today. Likewise. Thank you very much.